Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Highway with Kyle Shutt. I am Kyle Shutt, and I got a real treat for you this week. We got Chris Cole on the program, everybody, the face of skateboarding. We had a ton of fun making this episode for y'all. If there's a problem in the world, we got to the bottom of it. It's a bold statement, I know. If you like what you hear on the program, please follow where you can follow. Smash that subscribe button, and if you want to go one step further and help us out, you can find us at patreon.com/thehighway, where you can get early access to next week's episode, even get yourself a shout out, like, who do we got this week? We got Adam Pomerantz. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Max Moraski. Thank you, Greg Owen. And extra special thanks to Aaron Bevel, who's a friend of the show. He has his own podcast called Crossing the Streams, which is really fun. It pits two artists against each other every single week. If you need some more content, please check that out. And we have to give some mad love to our sponsors, Heil Microphones. If you like the way I sound, it's because there's a Heil in front of me. I love giving shout outs to our badass fans. I love giving love to our sponsors. But you all know that I only got one true love, and that's doing things my way.
The Highway.
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Nothing, dude. Just hanging out, playing with this little mini Rubik's Cube, actually.
Hell yeah. How many is it?
The Rubik's Cube? It's...
Yeah.
Oh my
how many?
What is
yeah.
it? Hold on. 3 zeros, 9. Shit. I don't even know. That's really tough.
Like the size of a dice? Like a six-sided die?
Oh, I thought you said how many is it? I was like, wait, how many squares are there? No, how many is it? It's super tiny. It's like a dice.
Yeah. That sounds infuriating. Chris Cole, everybody, the Cobra. Extreme sports enthusiast. You're the face of extreme sports. If I'm not being too modest.
Oh, that's nice.
Thanks so much for being on the program, man. I really appreciate
my
it.
pleasure.
We actually met through a couple of different friends, and you would always come out to our shows in San Diego, and it was always a pleasure to see you. It's one of my favorite venues, actually, to the Belly Up Tavern.
Yeah, you guys play that Belly Up every time, and I think it's famed for its sound, its acoustics.
The whole place is made of wood, and it's not that big relative to the I guess the size of the acts that play there. Like whenever we would play there, I'd look at the calendar and be like, next week is 10,000 Maniacs, and after that it's like Lyle Lovett. Like it's just all over the place, like with the genres.
Dude, you're right. It really is. You know what's actually really interesting about that place, and you've probably heard this before. So the owner of Belly Up is Goldberg, the wrestler's brother, and
Whoa.
And he's a very wealthy guy, and he lives in Rancho Santa Fe, and he actually booked Paul McCartney to play there just as a private gig for like people that he invited from the community.
Good Lord.
He also had the Rolling Stones play there the same way.
How much does that run?
5 million is what I heard.
5 million. I knew a guy in Austin who ran a club called the Belmont that brought in Prince for somebody's birthday. It was like some rich guy's birthday party. He wanted Prince to play, and for $1 million, Prince played 2 acoustic songs, and that was it, and then left.
Dude, how do I get that job?
I know, like, my God, because a bunch of people were trying to crowd outside the club to see if whenever Prince would arrive, and a limo pulled up with a truck behind it, and then a bunch of people got out of the truck and built a huge like walkway barricade from the limo to the front door of the club, so you couldn't even see anybody get out of the limo. Like it was impossible. To get a catch.
Legendary. I know. I love it. I think that's beautiful. What a good story that you've gifted me. I have that now.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, you're obviously a world famous skater, but at the beginning we all get into music and stuff, and that's kind of how I got into skating when I was younger. I was never very good at it. The music kind of took over for me. But how did you get into skating? Was it through watching skate videos and stuff, or video game, or was it more of like a like a just thing in your community that was really prevalent?
Well, it was really popular for you know, the 80s, it was really, really popular, especially the late 80s. 1989, I was obsessed with skateboarding, like obsessed, but I didn't actually have a skateboard yet. I saw somebody skate past my grandma's house. I was like looking out the bay window, like nobody to play with, and like just like between watching wrestling and riding my bike and stuff, I was like looking out the window, and this dude skated by, and he looked so fucking cool. Like he looked so cool. I was just like, dude, what? That thing? He's just kind of like laid back, kind of looked like the long-haired bully from The Simpsons. And yeah, and I was like, that dude, I want to be like that guy. And so I started like reading all these skate mags, and I was getting them out of my school library and renting them. And they were way older than the current mags, so I was already at like a deficit. So I was watching I was like looking at all these magazines that were super duper cool and influential to me, but they were a year, 2 years older than what it currently was. And when I finally got a skateboard, I realized that in 1989/90, everyone quit. Everybody quit skating. And it was like this mass exodus where I looked around like with my board, like I ran out front, like I got it. And like, it's like tumbleweeds, you know, you hear the good, the bad, the ugly, and there's just tumbleweeds. And you're like, where did everybody go? And so I skated alone. For the first 2 years of skating, I skated 100% alone.
Damn.
Yeah. But I was so addicted I'm sure you have this with guitar, but the first time you played like Plush by Stone Temple Pilots or something, you got that like, damn, I can make whatever sounds I want to hear at that moment with my own hands. I'm done.
Oh yeah, that was huge for me. Yeah, guitar was my whole life, and kind of like that, I played by myself, you know, in my room for years before I even found anyone else who wanted to make a band. I grew up in a really small town in West Texas, so yeah, that was really difficult. And skating, it was quite a healthy skate scene. This would have been in the sort of mid to late 90s, kind of the Tony Hawk games, I think, had brought that back to the forefront a little bit with some people, because not everybody could afford a guitar and stuff like that where we were, but skateboards were relatively cheaper.
And there's like that community aspect to the skateboard too, like where you can like customize it to look like you and say a bunch about you, which everybody really likes. That's why we wear brand stuff. That's why we dress the way that we dress. We want to give off an image to other people of who we are. Like our individuality matters a lot. And so you get to do that with a skateboard, customize it, and then you show up to the skate park and you hang out with people and stuff where you're like a very polished and well like grounded human being, which is actually a bizarre thing a lot of times with very good musicians, because you do sit on the side of your bed by yourself practicing over and over and over in these formative years when you're normally like learning how to talk to people, you know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting that like you're so good at it.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I've always really gotten a lot of influence from just talking to people and seeing everyone's different points of view on just about anything, really. I mean, I love, there's nothing I love more than sitting at the pub and having a pint and just like talking with whoever comes in, you know. And that's always being in a band and touring all over the world for so long. Yeah, I just got to be really comfortable talking with complete strangers and even, you know, ending up in some pretty hilarious situations that I would have never ended up in if I would have never just, you know, been as affable as I think I am. But not that I'm patting myself on the back, but it was one of those things where I just saw the rewards of treating everyone equally.
Yeah.
Instead of putting up this wall between, you know, your fans and you. And I've tried to take that as far as I can. I've seen bands do it every way that you could do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to live with it too. So like, if it's not you, like you have to live with that. So if you're like, you know, this is what I'm supposed to be like, where I'm like putting the fans as a lesser importance than somebody else, and I'm not going to gain anything from this. If that's not who you are, you then are like stuck in that sarcophagus.
Yeah, and it's not for everybody, but coming from that place is unfortunate. But
truth.
What are you gonna do? You got to let everybody live their own life.
True.
So getting around to the Tony Hawk games and stuff, especially early on, which you were in. How was that? Seeing yourself, being able to play yourself in a video game. Did you ever do that? Because the Sword kind of had that with the Guitar Hero games and stuff, but we were never actually fleshed out in the game.
Well, I guess it is a trip. So it's like I'm jumping through windows and shit like that, and like busting like 50-foot backside 360 methods in the game. So it makes more sense than you playing a guitar that's not a guitar to a song that you wrote with your hands and actually play for reals. I found Guitar Hero to actually be very hard for me to play because
as a musician, it's actually, if you're playing your song, you realize how unintuitive it is if you're at all musically inclined.
Yeah.
Is it the same with the skating? Or?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is. But like skating does have a rhythm. And so it's natural that musicians and skaters have a similar brain. But when you're playing Guitar Hero, for instance, you have to forget about like the hopping beat of boom, ba-da-da-down, ba-da-da-do-da-do. You have to forget about that, and you have to start shooting Space Invaders, and that's it. So you shoot
it's exactly it. You got to turn the music off. It's such a weird concept because you're like, okay, stop listening to the music, just look at the dots and hit the buttons.
That's right, and the music will keep playing, and it's super weird, like that. And they did a great job. And funny story is I actually won a Guitar Hero contest, which is embarrassing, which is so stupid. But I wasn't like a drinker, and I went on Thrasher's King of the Road with Zero, and the finale, like where you drop off your tapes and stuff at the end of the trip to get judged, there was like this party going on sponsored by Guitar Hero. And so I showed up to this party at this bar, and it has all these different sort of rooms and shit, and one of them had a Guitar Hero, or there were a couple rooms with Guitar Hero setups. And so I just sat there because I wasn't drinking and stuff, so I was just playing Guitar Hero in a corner. And then this dude comes up and he's like, "Hey dude, you won." And I was like, "What?" And it was Marcus Henderson. Ended up being a friend after that. He did the guitar tracking for, like, they'd have to do guitar tracking to cover all the songs.
Right,
so he did that.
In those those first two games, it wasn't like the actual songs put into the game
That's right.
Yeah, it was like one guy that did it all.
So he was the dude, and I won this Guitar Hero contest. And I'm shit at the game. It just came out, and no one had it, but I had bought it right before that trip. So like I played it like 3 times or something before that.
And then everyone else is trashed.
Yeah.
So they can't play.
You're right. Exactly. Who knows if anybody else even did play. I was just like the only one.
Oh, God.
Just like the unfuckable dude in the corner playing Guitar Hero.
Nothing wrong with that. Oh, God. It's funny thinking about just the music and the skating games, because I found out about so many bands from those early Tony Hawk games. Yeah. But there was this, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like in the late 90s, kind of early 2000s, the music and skating, it was kind of like skaters were into punk rock or hip hop, and it wasn't really so much like a rock and roll kind of thing. Like there weren't many skaters listening to actual rock music or playing it while they would perform or anything like that. And I know you're a rocker. I didn't know if that was like kind of an evolution thing, or have you always just been straight up into skating and listening to rock and roll?
It's really funny because you dress how the times are, or like your influences in skateboarding, you would dress how they dress, or you would dress in what you had because you didn't have access to other stuff. So I was dressing like my favorite skaters would dress, which was like hip hop basically. But I was always listening to a vast variety of music. My brother, when we were young, was obsessed with Danzig. And so he got like every CD from every band that Danzig was ever in. Yeah, it was fucking sick. And so I listened to that stuff growing up all the time. So when I was wearing this super baggy, like, Echo jeans and shit, I was listening to like Best of the Beast and like all sorts of heavy shit, Dead Kennedys and stuff. But I just didn't look like it.
It was the 90s, man. Shit was weird in the 90s. Yeah, it was
totally weird. So I just didn't look like it. And then eventually, as I started like right around 17 to 19-ish, I started to realize like I can start catering what I wear towards how I feel and who I am. And that was like a big epiphany. And that's when like you can kind of see it in video parts. You can see like the spiked bracelet come in, and the logos aren't like, even though the stuff is baggier, the logo is more heavy metal for that brand, but I'm wearing that one. Stuff like that. But music was so influential in that time in skateboarding, and skateboarding was influential to the music because, like you said, with its Tony Hawk games, that changed music. It changed those bands' lives because they were now selling out massive concerts because of like that one random, Static X song.
Totally. That, or I mean, even with on the Guitar Hero angle, like The Sword was a band that never had like a radio hit or any kind of like thing like that. Like just a massive song that took us above and beyond. We had some fan favorites and things like that, but with Guitar Hero, like that, Freya being on that game, like that put us in a million homes. Like before Christmas that year that it came out or whatever. And that was huge for us, being able to reach as many people as possible in the post MTV world.
I thought it was really cool that you were in that game, just because you understand how David Bowie gets in there, and a bunch of like super obvious songs will be in there, but like somebody knew music well enough to know The Sword.
It was a trip back then because we had submitted for that game. I don't remember who asked us to submit or how that particular thing came up, but we got the track listing for we asked our lawyer to inquire about it, and then we got the track listing back and we weren't on it. So we asked him like, hey, just ask him one more time if they think they would have some room for us. And that must have worked or something. I don't know why, because they accepted the song after that. And then when we saw the actual, box came out, it was like, Scorpions, Ozzy Osbourne, and then like us, Priestess, and I think Wolfmother were like the three kind of current bands that they had put in there. And a bunch of people thought we were some old band from the 70s that they'd never heard of, like some Thin Lizzy kind of cast off.
Like, what a nod.
But I know. It was
like,
great.
We did it, fellas. Really we nailed it.
And they actually, we were included on a Tony Hawk game. Project 8 was the one. I think they put Iron Swan on that one. And the way we found out about that was sort of backward. We had a friend that was a quality tester for video games, and he called us up saying, man, that was so cool that you guys are in the new Tony Hawk game. And we were like, what?
So sick.
It was like, we need to make some phone calls real quick.
Yeah, like, how did this happen?
But we got to the bottom of it. It's fine. Everything, like the Trailer Park Boys say, it's all water under the fridge. But that's fine.
That song is so heavy too. It's like, seriously, like I understand why The Sword moves on to play different songs as the band and the humans progress in it, you know, like, and not want to play just those heavies,
Sure.
like relive Groundhog Day forever. But I never went to a Sword concert until it was like Trace Brujas, you know. So I wasn't getting Winter's Wolves, you know. I wasn't. I never got it.
Yeah, we played a lot. We get that a lot, and all I can say is that we played whatever, you know, thousands of shows, and just when you do it for so long, just nonstop, you kind of lose track of things like that. Be like, oh yeah, there's 1,000 people here, but 900 of them haven't seen us yet, and they never got to see those old songs, even though we've played this town, you know, 100 times,
Totally.
and played all those songs. Yeah, so I don't know. You don't really think about that, but
Yeah, totally. And
maybe one day soon we'll hit the road and bring out all the old favorites.
it seems like it would be a really cathartic at a certain point. Like, it would suck if you did it too early and you're like, yeah, you know, we didn't really let the hits from U's Future ring out, but we're back playing, you know, this one random jam from, like, you know, back in the day. But like, if you hadn't played it for so long, and then the energy from the crowd when you do would be worth it, you know.
That was kind of the mentality. Yeah, I'm hoping that, because we were going to do that, but now it has been even longer after the whole world has been dealing with this insanity. Yeah, it's the people are going to lose their goddamn minds.
Dude, for real.
Whenever we finally do get to go back.
Like that Tyrone Bigham's David Chappelle skit where the dude's head explodes in the back. You know?
We'll see. We shall see. What's it been like? Because I know you're still out skating and hitting spots and stuff. Because it's kind of getting a band together it takes so much, you know, like logistical kind of like planning and all that stuff. But just like, how has it been just being able to like pick up your board and go hit some spots or anything like that? How's the skate scene been reacting to the pandemic?
It's crazy. People have been forced out of their routine and forced out of just doing what they do. And so many people have started skateboarding again, picking it back up, picking it up for the first time even. But a lot of people rekindling it because they're stuck and they're bored and they're like, dude, what do I do? I've beaten Netflix, I've beaten the internet. What do I do? And they started skating. So what I noticed was, the freedom to go skate is huge. The fact, especially street skating, where I can just go outside and I can do it wherever. And you're outside, you're in the sun, vitamin D, open air. It's pretty hard to contract COVID when you're skating, right? Like,
right.
It's pretty
when you're 10 feet up in the air.
It's pretty difficult. Like, I mean, they shut down skate parks for a while, and we're just like, no, you know, don't. Which is a weird thing, because it was like something that people could do, and you really aren't like shoulder to shoulder with people at a skate park unless you're a complete asshole. And so, and so then after they opened the skate parks, I started to go to, you know, the best local park. And the moment I went there, I was like, dude, it is so damn crowded. Let me go to the other one that's not as cool as this one, right? That one was crowded. And then we went to like the shit park that like no one goes to, and it was crowded. And so every single park is at capacity every day because that many people started skating again. And so supply chain issues have been a thing where board companies can only get X amount of decks from the manufacturer per month to sell, because it's like boards are selling like crazy. Helmets are selling like crazy. It's like just going nuts.
That's wild. It seems like the vinyl industry right now, it's impossible to get anything pressed within it. I mean, it used to take 3 to 4 months to get your records pressed, and now they're telling us like, yeah, we'll get to it in 6 months. I don't know. We'll let you know. And it's just like, oh my god,
they have all the power.
It's wild what's happened. Yeah, and also there's only so many manufacturing plants.
That's
So it's not like you can just go down the street to another one. Is it kind of like that with skating where there's only just so many places that actually source decks?
Precisely. There's only so many wood shops, and they deal, especially good ones, they deal with everybody. Like if you know you get your vinyl press from these people because they have the best colors, the swirls, the the best quality product that that you can rely on. You are then held by what their capabilities are. And like, I've heard that about the vinyl because Liquid Death does an album called Greatest Hates, and it's like punk rock and metal actually played by real musicians, and then the lyrics are the hate comments that people put on social.
Oh shit!
Yeah. It's check that out. Brilliant. You should totally guest on one. But
I would love to.
They were talking about the supply chain issues of getting vinyl pressed, and it makes sense.
It's a nightmare. It's same with skating. Like a lot of people have picked up the guitar. Also, and so like guitar companies are sort of running into that, like wood sourcing issues and stuff like that. But then also just the bands that can't tour anymore are everyone's trying to put out some sort of product, to just keep the interest going, or just to keep the income stream up, which was already kind of dwindling anyway. So it's just getting harder and harder to be.
It gets saturated.
An artist that makes a physical product. So that's hence the podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, you know what? It's important to support the musicians that you love, because it's rare that you don't have a song stuck in your head, and even if it's like save the best for last, Vanessa Williams, you should support that.
Hell yeah, I fully endorse that comment. I wanted to talk to you about BMX a little bit, because you do ride as well, and I know there was sort of a skate and BMX rivalry for a while, and I feel like you were one of those sort of just big names as far as the crossover went, because like in Austin we have tons of skaters, but also like tons of BMX there too, like Chase Hawk, my friend Dean Dickinson, he lives in Portland now, but he was in Austin for a while and everything like that. So why was there a rivalry to begin with? It was just kind of like a West Side Story kind of thing, like just
like West dancing.
Yeah.
West like walking and snapping and dancing. But
right, yeah.
So the beef really came because of pegs and pegs wrecking ledges, from what I know. That's where it kind of like stemmed from, and then also being very tribalistic. I don't even know if that's a word.
No, that's I get it.
Yeah, like you pack off into your tribe, and in skateboarding, a lot of skaters are, teenaged. And so when you start skating, you're a teenager, and everyone sucks, right? Like your skaters are skaters of the shit. You guys are rad. Everybody else can fuck off. And so as you grow up, you realize that the BMXers are doing the same thing that we're doing, just they have a different apparatus. Some people can go straight, some people can go sideways, and you kind of pick the thing that you like the most, and they're out there doing tricks, getting wind in their face, and like having their goals set for them where they're, they learn this trick and then they're trying immediately to do it better and sharpen that knife that is their craft. And once you realize that, you're kind of cool with most things.
Yeah, I see that.
And also plastic pegs now, so it's like a big win for wedges.
I didn't know they had plastic pegs. Why are they? Do they break very easily? Is it a very
and dude, it's crazy how strong those plastic sleeves are. Like, dude, they're gnarly. Like, you would imagine like a PVC pipe, if you put that over your peg, you'd crack it and like it'd rip off instantly.
Yeah.
These things are durable.
That's awesome.
They're tight. I got them.
How do you how do you ride BMX? Are you more like the street, like kind of like ground rider, or do you hit the bowls and stuff like that?
You know, I would love to be somebody who could do flat ground, but it's like in skateboarding, the first thing that you do is you learn how to ollie and you learn how to 180 and you do these things on flat ground. That's like how you get good. And then in BMX, it's like doing flat ground, just straight up like hop whips or bar spins on flat is gnarly. Like that is like real shit. Like you have to be good.
I know it looks weird. Do you know Henry? He plays with a band called House of Lightning. He was in that band Floor for a long time. He lives in Florida. He's a flat ground rider, and it's the stuff he does is mind blowing to me. I'm like, how do you do that on a bike,
dude? It's pretty wild, and those guys are strong as hell. Like it's crazy to whip a bike around and like hop and just get the type of lift off to throw bars and not have your nose dive down and stuff. Like the dudes are so damn strong. And it's funny when they go to skate, they have to learn how to be loose because they all have BMX body, which is like really stiff muscles that are like too strong for skating. And you have to be able to like be strong, but only turn that on at like these key moments.
Is it kind of like the difference between like snowboarding and skiing, sort of? I mean, not the same or whatever, but I just mean like I've done both.
Really?
And it's funny because like skiers and snowboarders kind of had this like rivalry too. But it wasn't until I snowboarded that I realized I was like, oh, it's just because we have to turn different. Like everything about it, like all the physical movements and everything are just so different that you end up getting in each other's ways a lot.
Oh, dude. I mean, that's actually a pretty astute situation. I never really thought about the ski thing. I always just thought was just a cultural difference, like who decided to pick up like what because they thought this looked corny or something like that.
I'm sure that's there too.
Yeah. It's funny too because I've never skied and I didn't snowboard until I was like properly a sponsored skateboarder riding for a brand that also was owned by a snowboard brand. So they like hooked me up with a setup and stuff. Like that's when I started snowboarding at like 19 or something like that. So it's still relatively new to me, but it does make sense like you get in each other's way with like the difference of carving and speed, because a lot of times skiers go fast, dude.
Yeah.
And
if you're going straight downhill, in a snowboard you can go straight downhill, but it's very difficult. That you don't really have a whole lot of control.
Yeah, that edge catch is like pretty quick when you're going that fast. But yeah, I mean, dude, if you run into a biker at a park, it is just it's a Mad Max vehicle. It's got all sorts of things to hurt you. The pegs on the front, the bolts, the headstock you can hit your knee on,
just the spokes
and anything. The human.
Yeah.
So you're worried about like the bar ends, but the human being behind it is also coming at you. I've actually knocked out my front teeth on a BMXer's helmet before.
Ugh, I was just gonna ask, like, what is your hospital list just of injuries like a mile long?
You know, it's decent, but usually you don't get stuff checked out, like because you kind of like have a pretty good temperature gauge on these injuries, and you know what they're like and what they compare to other ones. So a lot of times I won't go. And then there have been times where I have gone because I'm convinced that I've broken stuff, right? Like I smashed like my eyebrow, actually underneath my eyebrow against the edge of a ledge going like full speed. Just Superman fly right into like orbital socket on this ledge. And and I was basically like whisked to the emergency room and like probably unconscious for a while, but you don't know when you're knocked out usually. So, you know, they x-rayed my head and I thought for sure like nose broke, orbital broke, and no, none of it was broke. And then my forearm was like humongous forearm, like thigh-sized forearm, and it was purple and black. And I was like, I broke my forearm. You know, like I hit it against something like super hard skating. So I was like, I definitely broke it. Went, got it x-rayed, not broke.
Ugh.
You know, so you're like, sometimes you just have no damn idea.
You just got rocked. Oh my
yeah,
God.
But then I like,
that's ridiculous.
I fractured like I don't know which one it is, tibia or something. It's the outside bone on your leg. And didn't get it checked out, you know, and
yes.
like just didn't skate because it like hurt. And then like the bruise didn't go away. It's still there. Bruise is still there. And this was basically 14 years ago. And
oh my God,
you know, I got something else x-rayed and they're like, hey, it looks like you broke your leg at some point too. It's like, okay.
Ugh.
My forearm wasn't, my head wasn't, but that thing I didn't get checked out was.
It makes me wonder. I've actually never broken a bone, knock on wood, but I always wondered what it felt like, if you'd know if you did or not. That's hilarious. You're just like, yeah,
it depends on the bone. There's certain stuff your body's super good at. Like I was always worried, like, what if you have internal bleeding? You wouldn't even know. No, you totally know. You immediately go into a fever pitch and you're like sick as shit. Like you immediately get sick. So with broken stuff on the inside, usually your body goes into like, I think I'm going to puke. It knows.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh God. Every time Jimmy, the drummer of the Sword, every time we would be off tour on breaks and stuff, he would try to get me into riding bikes. And a friend of ours who passed, unfortunately, Scotty Mescal, shout out to Scotty, we miss you. He had made some phone calls and got me a bike, actually, a little shadow bike. And we would meet up at dawn at the skate parks just before everybody would get there and just ride for a little bit. And but it would always kind of freak me out because Jimmy, we used to call him Crazy Jimmy No Brakes, because he got no brakes on his bike and he would just do these insane tricks and stuff. But I'd be like, Jimmy, we got a tour in like 2 weeks, man. Don't break anything, please. Totally. So I was always terrified that he was going to break his arm or something before we would hit the road. But I guess
that's a fear.
Being a pro skater, there's no pressure because you're expected to get hurt. But did you ever play music? Did you ever want to be in a band and play or do anything like that?
Yeah. So like I play music currently. Like I learn your songs and stuff like that as best I can. But certain bands like the Sword, the dudes that dig the Sword are knowledgeable and they don't really tab out all your shit. You know what I mean? Like
that's
it's
true.
Not as easy. It's not as readily to. It's not as easy to find the actual solo to this specific song and stuff like that because it's supposed to be intuitive. It's supposed to be like a feel thing that you find and you bend and you figure it out yourself. And that's what I've found. But yeah, I do play music. I always had that itch and that feel and that drive, but skateboarding was my full passion that I ended up going into. But once your hobby and passion becomes your life, you then have to find new hobbies and passions. And so the dream that I have is being in a band and being good and like playing shows. That's a dream that I have now.
Want to be in a band? Definitely want to be good.
Yeah, well,
definitely want to play shows. Had you played with anyone? Have you ever like jammed?
Yeah, but not really. Like the idea of playing with other people is really nerve-wracking to me. But I have just a little bit, and it's usually just sleazy guitar tracks, like Unskinny Bop and shit like that with my friend John.
Nothing wrong with that.
Like he'll just hop on drums and we'll play Talk Dirty to Me or something.
That shit is so fun. God, I miss playing with other people. I've been the pandemic, obviously forced us all to sort of isolate and stuff like that. So I've been doing a lot of my own just audio engineering by myself, my own just cover something. And you can do remote jams or whatever, where like I'll record these tracks and send them to you and stuff like that. Thank you. But not saying that I'm not grateful to have that opportunity, but God, it's so unsatisfying compared to being in the same room with your dudes, your people, and just creating that magic in a space and creating that energy that's so much more than just 4 or 5 people, whatever, making noise on their own. I so can't wait to get back to something. I've given up on whatever normal is, like what just whatever the new thing is. Let me know when the new thing is here, and then we'll address the situation when we get there. I just want to play music again with people and wield that power. I miss it so much.
What's the deal with like drive-in movie theaters? Like, how come comedians do that and bands don't?
Okay. I have a few theories on that actually. I've tried. I tried to book a show, but at the end of the day, people in bands, being in a band is like having 4 different significant others in your life, and everybody's got their own opinions, everybody's got their own needs and wants and things like that, and so to get everybody on the same page in the first place is really difficult. Yeah. You throw a worldwide pandemic in there, it's even more. People are very either deep in their paranoia one way or the other, or they're just have different needs, different financial situations. Who knows? Totally. So it's getting everybody to get on the same page to agree on a performance like that's done in a socially responsible way and everything like that. It makes it 10 times more difficult than it even used to be. With comedians, it's one person. You get up there and you tell your jokes, and also I don't know about every comedy show, I'm sure it's happened once or twice, but at most comedy shows there's not like crazy mosh pits or anything like that. Music is this very tribal thing that brings out this instinctual animal in us all and just makes some people go absolutely ape shit, and I think expecting people to either remain in their cars or to sit at these 4 top tables while a rock band gets up there and just tries as hard as they can to devastate a crowd, it's asking a lot of people to just sit there and enjoy it, and I get that.
I had to describe a mosh pit to my daughter yesterday.
How old is she?
She's 11, but I was like,
oh, okay,
yeah, like she's pretty big. She's definitely been to shows. She's never been to one of your shows because you guys play the belly up, and that's a 21 plus place, and that sucks. But she's been to shows, so she's seen pits, like Children of Bodom shows and stuff like that. But yeah, describing it, she's like, why would they want to do that? I'm like, some people just that's how they let their hair down. That's how they get out the aggression, and like
it's true.
I'm like watching Kyle's hands while he plays, and other people are just losing their shit. You know what I mean? There's just a different
it's. I've never been the mosh kind of person, but it's crazy to witness a room full of people doing that. We played a show with Lamb of God one time in Spokane, Washington.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure we were playing the Black River, and I looked up, and it was a sold out show. It was front to back, side to side. Every single person in the room was moshing. I had never seen an actual like 1,000-person mosh pit before. It was totally ridiculous.
It's so funny because I immediately pictured the moment that it's going, like the in the city of the high priest. Like, I get it. I fucking get it. I wish I were there.
It was crazy. I know. When I was, I think I was 13 or maybe 14, I got to see Pantera, and yeah, like, I was doing pretty good on the floor of the Coliseum where I was watching them, and then Dime started playing the opening riff to Walk, and the place just turned into a cyclone, and I knew I had to get the fuck out of there because I was gonna die if I tried to like hold my own in that pit. I turned around and I just ran for my life.
Dude, it's so funny. It's so funny. You're just like, okay, I got to get to the back at this moment.
I think I lost a shoe. At one point, I had to like go back for my shoe. I was just like, I'm out of here, man.
Dude, I went to a Code Orange show that had like
Oh God, they're
Yeah,
brutal.
I swear to God, there were like felons in that mosh pit. Like there were serious, like there were mean people out there.
Yeah, dude. That's a good way to put it. Like y'all are angry, and I don't know why.
Yeah, like hey,
like you're definitely not into this music as much as you're angry at something.
yeah, like
else.
hey, you like this band too? Let's fight.
Yeah. God damn it! It's so true. It's so true. They might be the heaviest band around right now.
Dude.
Yeah, because Shade is their guitar player. He's a reverend guitar player as well, and we ended up playing a lot of festivals together and stuff. And I got to see them quite a bit, and I just remember just thinking like I don't know if there's a heavier band right now. I used to think Torch was the heaviest band.
That's so funny you say that, because I was about to say, well, I mean, Torch is pretty heavy too.
They're especially back in the day, back in like '08, around then, you couldn't be heavier than Torch. It was just your only option to compete with them. Not that it's a competition, but I just mean like the only way to like stand out was to just write a different kind of song. You know, like you couldn't out heavy that band.
How did they actually achieve it? Because like, okay, for instance, like Grenade by Torch, like there's a chugging part that I swear to God, it's every single person is just, they're basically playing the same but not the same. So like, yeah, you hear the drums like beating, but you also hear the bass chugging with the drums and the guitars going at the same time. But it sounds like there's like, I don't know, like 4 truckloads of the same shit happening at the same time. It's just,
that was their secret. Yeah, it's just pummeling. You know, you just kind of line those notes up and just go for it. In music sometimes that sounds rude, but you got it or you don't. You know, and they have it. Whatever that is, they got it.
Yeah, because you can muddy that up pretty quick, where it just doesn't sound like anything, and you're like, oh, what do we do? Yep. Like like it sounded like something, but a little bit less, and so we added a little bit more, and now we hear nothing.
Yeah, totally.
Hard job.
Music.
Hard job, man.
Love it. I love it, man. Dude, I could talk to you for hours about this, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show, dude. What do you got cooking up next, man? Is there anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to let people know about? I know you're riding for Zero, and you partnered up with Liquid Death and GoPro and all that, but what's cooking?
Well, I mean, we're all waiting for this pandemic to kind of chill out, but I mean, on the ride of skating, and just everybody's rekindling the love of what they once had. So we're just releasing a bunch of stuff that we know that people have missed and wanted, you know, for so long, and it's really fun. So that's kind of like what's on the horizon, is just giving people what they want and continuing. I film with the Zero dudes all the time, and I constantly am like on that mission. So we'll see where that takes us, but releasing all the old stuff that people loved from their childhood makes me really happy. And then for everybody else that they didn't even know existed because they started skating recently. And so it's not even a reissue to them. It's special to other people. And then it's just a new badass graphic that they're like, damn, this is cool looking. So it's kind of fantastic with how social media and how we all digest information nowadays. It's so fleeting and it's so quick that you know, people that started, you know, listening to heavier music in the last 4 years have like no idea that Barrel's Blade exists, right? And so
yeah, I always say that, every year somebody turns 18 and starts smoking pot, and they're going to find out about the sword.
Dude, I say yours is better than mine. Mine is a Green Day reference. It's like Green Day is awesome already. They just are. But
I love Green Day. That was kind of the reason I picked up a guitar, is because of the music video for Basket Case back
really?
in Basket 94
Case is
or whatever
a
that was.
Great riff. Like that was one of my first, like, I can play this and remember it, and it's like fun, and it sounds like it sounds. Welcome to Paradise, same thing. There are certain types of songs where when you play them, they voice themselves. You can really hear them sing. Creedence Clearwater songs do that. Mm-hmm. Like just the strumming pattern, you're like, fuck, I know that song. Yeah. But Green Day is forever popular because there's always 8th graders.
Yep. That's a really good way to put it.
Like,
oh my God.
And like,
oh shit! I forgot to ask you. I was gonna say, any signature tricks coming up? Is there such a trick as a 420, or does that
requires
a little bit extra
sideways.
math?
But
yeah,
you know, it'd be it would just be like barely over a 360. I'll do one for you, and I'll just be like, "This is Kyle Shutt's 420."
Yeah, a 360 plus another 60. You know, however that would pitch you.
Dude,
if you land a 420, I'll love you forever.
Dude, I got you, man. I'll do it.
Hell yeah.
That seems like a simple thing to like run out and do on Instagram right now.
Just let me know what you do, man.
I'm gonna have to tape it off. Like I'm gonna have to get like some woodworking tools out, measure it, and then put painter's tape down and aim.
That's why it's not a trick, is because you can't do it when you're stoned. It requires too much math.
Dude.
Too much preparation.
That's right.
God, thanks so much, Chris, for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Dude, it's my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah, man. We'll catch up soon, I promise, man. We'll be out and about again before too long. I got that.
Don't you go fooling me, man.
I'm optimistic.
Awesome.
Quadruple backside flip over this hip right here. See how it goes. It'll be my first one ever.
Christopher Cobra quadruple pull. And I'll say that 4 times fast.
Thanks so much for tuning into The Highway this week. A big shout out to Reverend Guitars, Railhammer Pickups, and Earthquaker Devices. If you liked what you heard, you can follow where you can follow, subscribe where you can subscribe, and if you want to go one step further, you can support us on Patreon at The Highway with Kyle Shutt. For a few bucks a month, you can help us keep this party going, get early access to next week's episode, and even get yourself a shout out.